This is Julie Green, and she is the official campaign prophet for Doug Mastriano. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Doug Mastriano, he's a far-right extremist who is the Republican nominee for the gubernatorial candidacy in Pennsylvania. So basically, he's running for governor in Pennsylvania, and he has a real shot at getting it, is the bottom line. It's extremely concerning. And Julie Green is his campaign prophet. Campaign prophet. I didn't know that was like a position in a campaign or in a governorship or whatever, but the president has a spiritual advisor usually, so Trump did at the very least. It was Paula White. So, I get it. I've heard crazier things, I suppose. But I gotta say, I don't think it gets much crazier than the things that I heard from Julie Green and her friend Liz Crokin. Liz Crokin is closely linked to Carrie Lake. They've been on the same shows. They've taken pictures together. They talk regularly, from my understanding. I don't know if she uses Liz Crokin as like a prophet, a campaign prophet or whatever. If you're unfamiliar watching this 5 years in the future, Carrie Lake is the governor candidate for Arizona right now, the Republican governor candidate. So it's all very, very concerning. We're going to talk about Liz Crokin in a little bit too, because she's got absolutely nutty views. But we'll get there. Let's just listen to what Julie Green, campaign prophet for Doug Mastriano, had to say for herself. Mid-August 2022. Check this out.
They know Nancy can't handle the presidency.
Nancy Pelosi, current Speaker of the House.
No, they know she's a drunk. But they know...
Who's they? Who knows she's a drunk? How do you know she's a drunk? What are you even talking about? She's kind of giving us a weird little monologue here, right? The interesting thing about what she's doing right now is she claims to be a prophet of God. She receives divine information from on high, right? And what she does is when she receives this information, she writes it down in a book, like the Book of Green, chapter 3, verse 12, that kind of thing. Seriously, that's what she does, Julie Green. And then she comes on air, on Rumble or wherever, and reads it out like she's reading Bible verses. Reads out what she wrote as though they're Bible verses. This is in Julie Green's Bible, what she's telling us right now about Nancy Pelosi.
They know Nancy can't handle the presidency. No, they know she's a drunk. But they know she is dying, and they helped with that.
Who's they? How are they helping Nancy Pelosi die? I don't understand.
They are now disposing of anyone they feel is no longer useful to them.
Who is they?
She failed the puppet masters with her 2 impeachments that didn't work. No assignment in anything they gave her against Trump, it didn't work. So now she is seen as a failure.
So Julie Green is saying that Nancy Pelosi, current Speaker of the House, is being controlled by some puppet masters who forced her to do 2 impeachments on Donald Trump, even though they were false, which they weren't, by the way, but that's what Julie Green believes. And she failed in getting Donald Trump impeached, so now her puppet masters are upset with her? What?
Her days are coming to an end, and she will not last until the 2020 midterm elections.
This is recent, so she must have meant 2022 midterm elections. Well, that's kind of specific, right? She said Pelosi isn't going to last until the midterm elections. Well, we're pretty close. You sure about that, Julie? You sure you want to double down on this? You sure that God told you this information? Because it's about to blow up in your face. I mean, the midterm elections are happening as of the moment that this is being filmed. They're happening in 2.5 months. Less than 2.5 months. They're basically happening in about 9 to 10 weeks. The midterms will be happening. So here's the question. If Nancy Pelosi doesn't kick it in the next 9 weeks, can we officially call Julie Green a false prophet just based off this one prophecy that she gave? The very first one that we're listening to?
Angel of death. Elections. She'll be visited by the angel of death for her crimes against my nation.
Again, she's speaking with God's voice because God gave her this prophecy.
And the blood is dripping from her hands. She loves to drink the little children's blood.
And that is a QAnon belief. There's this belief floating around from QAnon that Hillary Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, Huma Abedin, and a bunch of other major political figures are Satanists that do satanic rituals and sacrifices and all this other stuff. Completely nuts, dude. Completely nuts, some of the stuff they believe. Of course, no evidence for any of it at all. Like zero. But she claims that it came from God, so she's going to repeat it as though it's a fact.
By drinking this blood, they believe they will receive a longer life. Yes, a true witch, she really is. She was part of sacrificing the children to Baal. She loved for him.
Yeah, I guess I had to cut some things out. I don't even remember what she said there. Let me step back.
Children to Baal. She loved for him.
Oh, yeah, it was just, kind of, that's what it meant. I just wanted to cut down on the number of questionable words is all. Oh, yeah, notice her use of the word Baal, too. If you're unfamiliar with who Baal is and why they keep talking about him and everything, basically, the Jews and the Canaanites lived in the same area around the same time, like thousands and thousands of years ago, right? And basically every deity name that you ever hear mentioned in Christianity today all routes back to the Canaanite pantheon. So you got like the Greek pantheon and the Roman pantheon. They had gods. They just had different gods. So a pantheon is just a list of different gods. Zeus, Thor, Neptune, and whatever. I mean, they're just a gigantic list of gods, right? Well, the Canaanites had a list of gods too. Baal was one of them. Marduk was another one. Yahweh was one of the Canaanite gods. The god of metallurgy, actually, was what Yahweh was. And then the Jews came along and they were like, hey, I like that pantheon and I like that Yahweh fella and I think I'm going to take him. So they took Yahweh as their own and formed out an effectively monotheistic religion out of it. But you can see the heavy Canaanite pantheon influence in the Old Testament. For example, here's another god from the Canaanite pantheon, El. El was the creator god that created all of the others, and the gods that he created were collectively known as the Elohim. One of the gods that he created was Yahweh, of course. So anyway, that is the Canaanite pantheon influence on the Jewish religion and the Christian religion. Kind of interesting. So when they talk about Baal here, like Julie Green was talking about just now, Baal was one of the gods. It was like one of the bad guys in the Canaanite pantheon. That's why I find it deeply fascinating that they talk about Baal so much, Baal worship and all that stuff. It's basically like Satan. It was like the Canaanite Satan. Of course, Satan didn't exist up until 500 to 600 years before Jesus came along, and even then, it wasn't exactly what we know today as Satan. So they referred to Baal more often than not, which was the Canaanite Satan, pretty much.
Children to Baal. She loved for him. Well, now she will pay the ultimate price with her life, and her life is now over. For the facts against you and the baby she, along with giving money from her bills to help with trafficking the children, and of course to finance Epstein Island and that lifestyle.
Wait. Epstein, that name is so familiar. Is that the guy that Donald Trump is friends with, that took a bunch of pictures with him and hung out with him and got sued by people that he was connected to and all that stuff? I feel like that we're talking about the same guy, right? Jeffrey Epstein, right? Yeah, that dude that Trump is really close, or was, I guess, really close friends with. The dude whose girlfriend Trump wished well when she was on trial for all the terrible stuff, right? Are we talking about the same guy here? So anyway, that's Julie Green. That is campaign prophet of Doug Mastriano, gubernatorial candidate for Pennsylvania, and he has a real shot. A real shot. We should be concerned. Out of curiosity, let's just look at what his chances are, actually. I use a website called 270towin.com. I don't know if you guys have heard of this before, but it's super useful. You can look at interactive maps and pick which map library to use, like Cook Political, Inside Elections, 538. They all have their own estimates on here. Right now, it's looking like Pennsylvania leans blue, light blue, so it's not a sure thing. But Mastriano is not favored to win the election. That's good. That's good. It's concerning that it's not solidly blue, and we know for a fact that Mastriano's going to lose. It looks like some of these estimates have Pennsylvania a little bit more of a toss-up than others. I also go to 538.com. They have polling aggregates. They've been extremely useful for finding out, like, the likelihood of these people winning or this thing or that thing. Let me look at, let's see, governor... Okay, here you go. This is the current state of the Pennsylvania governor race. We've got the Democrat Shapiro at 48.3%, polling at 48.3%. Mastriano is polling at 41%. Now, there have not been very many polls done on these two. The strength of this polling data is in how many polls have been taken. So take this with a grain of salt. The margin of error is probably a lot wider than usual. But it currently appears as though Shapiro is going to win. Either way, it's closer than it should be. It's closer than it should be. It's concerning, is the point here. And Julie Green is Mastriano's campaign prophet. Mastriano has people like this running around representing his campaign. That's nuts. That is nuts. Check out this next one, mid-August 2022.
Ilhan Omer.
I love how she pronounced it. Ilhan Omer. Ilhan Omer. Love it.
You were a snake in the grass. You were a spy sent from your land to get everything you could to give it back to the nation that you serve. I am ripping the information out of your hands, and your mouth will be shut. You infiltrated my nation, and that is the last thing you will ever do.
She believes that God told her this prophecy, that Ilhan Omer is trying to infiltrate the U.S. government on behalf of the Yemen government. Yemenis, that's where she's from, right? What kind of a weird, bizarre, delusional fantasy land does she live in? Really, like, none of this makes any sense. None of this adds up. This is bizarre.
Your nation is letting you fall for them. You have no one on your side to save you. And the great I am is against you. And
the great I am, that's a name for God in the Bible, but it's been heavily co-opted by the QAnon movement. A lot of QAnon cults call themselves I ams. Particularly Romana Didulo, she does that a lot. She is the supposed Queen of Canada, QAnon cult leader. Anyway, she calls her people I ams, and QAnon in general likes to do that. So
you have no one on your side to save you. And the great I am is against you, and you will fall for your treacherous acts.
Yeah, so she obviously doesn't like Ilhan Omer at all. What's not to like about Ilhan Omer, honestly? I think she's awesome.
Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video.
Check this one out, mid-August 2022. I mean, this person just keeps on going, dude. Keeps on going with the crazy stuff.
Adam Schiff, how shifty you are. A weasel, a rat. You sold this nation out and formulated plans to throw out my son.
You know what's weird? It's weird to me that God, who she's speaking for here, uses the same like inflections and mannerisms and vocal speech patterns that Donald Trump uses. Is that weird to anybody else? Is it just me?
A rat. You sold this nation out and formulated plans to throw out my son from his rightful position as president. You thought you were so clever and couldn't be caught. Well, I will shine my spotlight on you, and all will see the proof of your disgusting acts against my son, the true president, and also your part in selling my nation to China for your protection.
Wow. Wow. That is weird, dude. Against my son, Donald Trump. Like, I know God views everybody as his children or whatever, but I always thought that, like, Jesus was something very unique and special being God's son. Like, we're all God's children, whatever. But, you know, there's a difference between being God's children and being God's son, right? The son of God, if you will. Weird that she refers to Trump that way.
Part in selling my nation to China for your protection. Just like the United States was to sink like the Titanic, you were supposed to be set for life because of the part you played. Yes, China is selling you out, and I will show the world who you are. You too will be tried for treason. You will also pay with your life. Nothing can save you now. Adam Schiff, for your shifty deals have cost you your life, and nothing can change your future. Chuck Schumer, your story is...
Oh my God, she's going after Chuck Schumer now. This is insane. That is nutty. Oh yeah, I think, like, I did the thumbnail after this shot. Let me tell you guys something about myself, okay? It's hard to find a frame in a video that doesn't look bad. Seriously, it's hard to do. Just because of the way that video works, it's basically blending two frames together in between each, and that's how you get a certain number, blah, blah, blah. It's complicated. Anyways, for that reason, it's hard to find a frame in a video that doesn't look like garbage, but I go out of my way, specifically, to find frames in a video that are not unflattering, that don't look like shit, because I feel like that's propagandistic. You know, people find a picture of somebody that looks like complete garbage. They look like a scumbag. They look terrible and weird and creepy or whatever, and they insert that picture into a thumbnail to grab people's attention. I don't believe in doing that. I think that's wrong. I think that's propagandistic. And if I'm going to complain about people being propagandistic, then I have no right to do that myself. But this face was just too much, dude. It looked too much like the meme, like the toad guy, like that. It looked too much like this toad here to not use it. I had to use the frame, but keep in mind, it's one of the few times you'll ever see me use a frame like that. It was just too tempting to pass up, honestly.
Chuck Schumer, your story is similar to that of Nancy, Adam, Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, and Obama. You are all the same, evil to your core, and you sold your souls to China and to the devil himself. You will pay with your lives, but not before your judgments, and you will lose everything you hold dear to you. You have received your indictments, and you know your days are numbered here on this earth. None of you will enjoy your last days. My mighty army comes for you to remove you from your places of power and where you sleep.
Okay, that's creepy and weird, but why are we sitting around waiting, right? If God wants this done, why doesn't he just do it? Just do it. Stand up, just send the army. Like, it should be here instantly, right? Isn't he all powerful? Just remove them from power instantly, just like that. Can't he influence any election? God? Can't he, like, make any result he wants happen? Why are all of these people still winning elections if God doesn't want them to? I don't understand. Is he all powerful or not?
These are the days of Haman. You wanted death for my nation and my children, but instead you will reap your harvest, though not before you see your nightmares come to pass. My son will return and will be put back in his rightful seat.
When she says my son will return and be put back in his rightful seat, what she means is Donald Trump. She means Donald Trump will return and be put back in the presidency. I know. If you thought that she was talking about Jesus, I did too at first. Seriously. They treat him like he's Jesus. There is a new Donald Trump religious cult, and she is a leader in that cult. That's bizarre.
Back in his rightful seat. You will all pay with your lives, and your plans will not succeed. I, the great I am passing judgment, and it is time for you to reap all what you have sown in one time, all at one time.
Yeah, so anyway, that's Julie Green. Absolutely bizarre. Sad part about this whole thing, though, about Julie Green, and as I mentioned earlier, Liz Crokin, this woman right here, they're full-blown QAnon members. That's the whole issue here. Liz Crokin is very close to Kari Lake, the gubernatorial candidate for Arizona, who has an honest shot at winning right now. I'm honestly very concerned. And Julie Green is also a QAnon member and very influential with another gubernatorial candidate. And here's the even more worrying part about it. Putin's fingerprints, Russia's fingerprints are all over the QAnon belief system. This is Delora O'Brien right here. This came out early March 2022. almost immediately after the Ukraine war started, QAnon wasn't really saying anything about Ukraine. They had nothing to do with Ukraine. They didn't know anything about Ukraine or whatever else. As soon as the Ukraine war started, QAnon starts espousing conspiracy theories about Ukraine. Bizarrely. Early March 2022. Delora O'Brien.
Not on Putin's side. I'm not on Zelensky's side. I'm not on Trump's side. I'm on God's side. God's side is the side of truth. It just so happens that right now, our President Trump is on the side of God. Also, believe it or not, so is Putin.
Is that not a bizarre thing for somebody to say immediately after the Ukraine war started? Again, she's a full-blown QAnoner. She speaks for QAnon in large part. This person does, Delora O'Brien. Putin's fingerprints are absolutely all over QAnon.
Right before I came on here, this is what was sent to me. A Russian soldier. I even have his name, and I can't give it. I'm sorry. I can't. Just research it. I'm sure it'll start coming out.
Okay, never came out, by the way. I'll let you guys listen and see what she said.
Searching for bioweapons. There was him and a few of his the other soldiers searching for bioweapons in central Ukraine.
They were never searching for bioweapons because they were never there. It's all complete nonsense. It is conspiracy theory top to bottom. Why does QAnon care about what's happening in Ukraine specifically? Why did they link Ukraine conspiracies to American conspiracies like that? Because Putin's fingerprints are all over QAnon. They have been since the beginning, honestly. And he's been pulling the levers, trying to force them to get more influential in politics and push more Ukraine conspiracy theories within America. Absolutely disgusting. So when I point out that Liz Crokin, this woman here, and Julie Green are QAnon members, and they are closely linked, even campaign profits, for gubernatorial candidates, people are trying to take governorships in the U.S. for U.S. states, that should be concerning. The fact that they are so close to power, so close, and completely convinced, obsessed with QAnon, with the ideas that they espouse. Here is a very clear, direct link. Putin to campaign profits to U.S. governors. Extremely disturbing stuff. Listen to what Liz Crokin has to say here. This is mid-August 2022. Again, she's linked to Kari Lake of Arizona.
The White Hats tainted the elite's adrenochrome supply with the coronavirus. And
okay, there's a lot here. I need to break each thing down. White Hats QAnon believes that there are like good members of the military who are operating together, and there's like a civil war within the military for the White Hats, or the good guys who are the Republicans, and they're trying to take out the bad guys who are the Democrats and working for the elites or whatever else. Anyway, so the White Hat military people, she believes, tainted the adrenochrome supply of the elites. Now, adrenochrome isn't even real, okay? It's a pretend fake drug from a movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The substance itself is technically real, but it cannot be used as a drug. If you take it, you can get it in powder form, like you can buy it apparently. It's not hard to access, and if you actually take it, the more you take, the worse the headache you get, basically. QAnon believes that you have to take it from, like, a live person, and it's an excruciating process, blah, blah, blah. Like, none of it's true. It's all complete fabrication, pseudo-scientific nonsense from the ground up. And they believe that the elites, or the cabal, or the Illuminati, are taking this every day, and they're, like, mistreating people to try to get more of a supply or whatever, right? And the White Hat military comes in and they tainted their supply with corona. I don't know how they would do that. Nothing about this makes sense except for within their weird little echo chamber. That's the only context. So, and now that I've explained the premises behind what she's saying, let's start it over and listen a little bit more. Again, close friends with Kari Lake, governor candidate for Arizona right now.
The White Hats tainted the elite's adrenochrome supply with the coronavirus, and that's why so many members of the elites are getting the coronavirus, if indeed they do have the coronavirus.
So she doesn't even know that they do. She doesn't even know if this is true. She says she's using this as evidence that the White Hat military came in and did something that they weren't supposed to do, but she doesn't even know if that's true in the first place. Building assumptions upon nonsense. That's what she's doing right now. And using all of those assumptions and nonsense to build some kind of a ridiculous conspiracy theory out.
Adrenochrome is a drug that...
No, it's not. Wrong. Right there.
that the elites love. It comes from children. The drug...
No. Adrenochrome is just a chemical that our body releases naturally, and it can come from anybody, and it doesn't really do anything for you if it's consumed. If it was actually a drug that could be used, you can bet it would be on the black market all over the place. It's nowhere to be found. You can just buy it on eBay, I think. It's like it comes in a powder form, and it just gives you a headache.
Children. The drug is extracted from the pituitary gland of...
You mean the adrenal gland? The pituitary gland is in the brain. But, okay, go on.
Gland of children. It's sold on the black market. It's the drug of the elites. It's their favorite drug. It is beyond evil. It's demonic. It is so sick. So there is a theory.
No to literally every single word out of her mouth. Not one of them was correct. Not one. Let's hear her theory.
So there is a theory that the White Hats tainted their adrenochrome supply with the coronavirus.
Oh, no to all of that. Literally everything she said is wrong in every way. That is absolutely bizarre. God, this is so weird and entertaining, isn't it? Like, these two people are something else. I mean, it's sad that they're so close to power right now. You see what I mean? Look, this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, I just click around, every single frame looks bad. It doesn't matter. You can do it to my video, to anything. Every frame that I click looks absolutely terrible. That's just the nature of video. But anyway, like I was saying, it's sad that they're so close to power, but I will be damned if it's not entertaining as hell to listen to them just eat themselves alive with these conspiracy theories. It's absolutely nutty stuff, man. Rush's fingerprints are all over this, man, and that's concerning in itself. Anyway, if you disagree with anything I've said, let me know in the comments or on Twitter at TelltaleAtheist. Mr. QTube first name thought, as I understand it, the human body can't digest or process blood if you drink it. That is correct. Thank you for bringing that up. I meant to mention that. Cannot be processed if you drink it. I mean, it can be injected. And there are actually studies that show that if you get a blood transfusion from somebody who's younger than you, it will slow the aging process. That's actually true, but that's non-harmful. You don't have to, like, do it with a kid against their will. It doesn't hurt the kid or any of this other crazy QAnon nonsense. Does not work that way. There are, like, blood transfusion donors that donate their blood to older people to help them stay alive longer or stay young or whatever else. It's totally normal. It's just a standard medical procedure. Nothing wrong with it. But, you know, a grain of truth to every conspiracy theory, and they just have to fearmonger and propagandize as much as possible. That's all there is to it. It's absolutely nutty. In fact, there was a TV show a while back called Silicon Valley. I loved that TV show for a while. It was on HBO. So funny, dude. Oh my God, was it a funny show. And I was a software engineer at the time, so it was perfect because it was about software engineers. It didn't end fantastically. I felt the ending was lackluster. They should have ended it a season early. But anyways, in that movie, they kind of gave you a sneak peek into, like, Hollywood elites culture, and they portrayed one of the bad guys as, like, having a blood boy, where this kid would come over and he's like 20 and young, you know, fit and works out all the time, and he just does a blood transfusion with this bad guy, and he's like, oh yeah, that's just my blood boy, Gavin, you know. It's funny. It was really funny. It was a funny show. If you haven't seen that, you should watch it. Ilhan Omar came to the U.S. when she was 8. This woman is saying she was a spy at 8. Emily Sigmund. Doesn't need to make sense for them to believe it. They will believe absolutely anything with no evidence, especially when they believe that God told it to them. They're even more firm in their conviction that they're correct. People like this are honestly dangerous to society in the sense that they can say anything that they want and claim that God told them that thing, and gullible suckers will believe that. Honestly ridiculous. And then they use that supposed prophecy from God to whip people into a blood frenzy and get them pissed off at everybody around them. Get them pissed off at liberals, pissed off at Ilhan Omar and very specific people, and make them want to take action against them. It's disturbing, man.